Hey, what's up? So, I thought I might try out vlogging. It's interesting. I've looked into it before, and so yeah, I just thought I would try it out, see if it works for me. I honestly don't even know what you're supposed to do. I guess what was it? Oh, I wrote something down. I don't know if it's relevant, but. So this is the thing, like right now I'm trying to get away from writing down essentially like thinking that like to make a video that it needs to be planned out in a certain way. Whereas I've certainly made videos where I did not do that and they worked out just great. And it's so, yeah, I guess that's one of the things is it's a funny thing that sometimes there's things that you do that you tell yourself that you need to do, that it must be done that way, but it's not always the case. It's kind of just something that you're familiar with, or that you're, yeah, that you're comfortable with doing. It's a part of a process, but it is at the same possible to to I don't know, think outside of the box, or I don't know if it's like supersede, or just to get away from certain practices that despite what service you think that they might be providing for you, they're actually holding you back. And certainly for me, writing things down, because then you write it down and then you got to read it or remember it, and then it's this structure when it's like you don't need to do that. You can just, if I don't even know if bullet points is the way. I'm honestly not sure. But like even like with like some subjects that might seem like they're kind of complex, it's like yeah, I guess there's a balance between some planning and preparation, but also just free flow of stuff, kind of like making music too. There's a lot of beauty that can just come out when when you do it naturally. Yeah, I apologize for my coughing. I started a new job and it was really dusty, and that's why I quit right away. But that's why I am coughing. But yeah, that's great. I went back to my old job yesterday, which was pretty rough because not a lot has changed, but it's all a step in the right direction. I've kind of realized that it's like working that job that I've been doing is not an option at all. It's not healthy for other reasons for me. So trying to, bear with this meantime, and I spent the morning looking for new jobs and stuff like that. Applied for a dozen jobs. I have yet to hear back from anybody. It's kind of frustrating for me because I study things which don't exactly land me jobs. I've spent years doing things. I spent 10 years writing a book, but that doesn't get me a job as a writer. I've studied YouTube, but that is this, but I can't transfer that. I study Spanish, but I don't speak it well enough that I can like translate or anything like that. So it's when he had a Spanish dream last night. I was like in this market in Guatemala trying to buy chocolate. It tells you where, yeah, because I love chocolate. But then like, yoga, I've studied formally with a school, but I study a type of yoga which you are specifically, you are required to sign like a contract, but like a thing that says that you will not teach any of the inner teachings of this yoga practice to anyone at all, or even speak about it, you're not, so it's just like, I studied yoga, but I'm not allowed to teach it. I study Spanish, but I can't teach it. I study spirituality, but I'm working on how I can work that into my life, or I'm trying to do that, but that's like, in the meantime, we need a job. Yeah. And it's rough. I'm literally scraping the bottom of the barrel right now for jobs, just looking for anything. I'm looking at stuff that pays like minimum wage, and it's like, for everything that I am, I'm like, yeah, look at it. Yeah. And that's rough. But, yeah, definitely, so anyways, enough about me. I guess the topic of the day, something that came up a couple of times yesterday, um, yeah, was this thing about people gluing their hands to bridges, and people gluing their bodies and gluing themselves in unison. Sometimes, like a string of people, they will glue themselves with crazy glue to the middle of a roadway, and to buildings, blocking buildings. So to do always. So in Vancouver, British Columbia, which is where I live, it is to do with the part of it anyways, is to do with a protest. They're logging old growth forests. And in other countries and stuff, I don't know, probably very similar stuff. It is to do with, there's people who are actually concerned about climate change, and just like, the preservation of nature, and just respecting that balance between mankind and humankind, and like and Mother Nature and every other inhabitant of this earth. And it's like, there are these companies which are making millions, if not billions of dollars off of the, the exploitation of nature, just cutting down forests, and it doesn't matter. They just get the contract, they go in, do it, and then make more money. I can't say that they have no care, but I mean, if you're cutting down forests, you don't care that much. And so it's a tough one. Like, I wouldn't glue my hand to stuff. I don't put anything on my skin that I wouldn't put in my mouth, because your skin, it goes right into your bloodstream. I mean, and your brain, it's like all very connected. So it's like, I wouldn't do it just for health reasons. And I get the idea of protesting. I mean, it's like when you see something going on, and like most people don't care, they and some people say, well, it's not that I don't care, or it's just that I don't care. And it's like, just not concerned. There's a word, apathy, which is just like a lack of interest, or kind of indifference. And it's funny because, like, how indifference ties in with, say, Stoicism, and like kind of Buddhism, with like equanimity, or kind of like the middle way, to not be disturbed, so it's like, to not be attached, and to not desire things and not be attached to them, so that you don't grieve when you lose them. I mean, it's funny, this middle ground, this indifference. And it's like, on some levels, yeah, on a personal, emotional, spiritual level, maybe, I don't know. But like, when it comes to the world, it's like, how can you not care when you look out in the world and you see something that's going on that you don't agree with, that is like clearly making the world not a better place. I don't know how else to say that, right? I mean, and so many people just straight up do not care, and they actually actively participate. Like they say, it was Howard Zinn, you can't be neutral on a moving train. You're either a part of the solution, or you're a part of the problem, And so what do? There's these people doing this, and it's like, I don't know if it effects a change it certainly brings attention to the issue. I honestly don't know what the answer is. I talked about it with a number of people, well, two people yesterday, and spent a small amount of time thinking about it. And it's like, I understand it at least somewhat, that it's unwise to try to get inside the mind of another person, wonder why is it that other people just don't care, why they don't seem to feel that this is an issue that needs to be dealt with, because I guess, how do you deal with it? That's the $1,000,000 question, or $1,000,000,000,000,000 question. How this machine of society and capitalism that has happened, how it turns around and like does, it's not what you're doing, it's how you go about doing it. So it's like, there are ways to do things, but cutting down old growth forests, I think that there's another way. There are other renewable resources, but unfortunately, this takes place right now. So, how does it stop is the question. I think that when I look at another big issue, say like racism, to do with like African American people, if you know what I mean, right? Like, how did that stop? It's still going on, systemic racism, and like I myself have been subject to like profiling. Like, I don't have a criminal record, I never have, yet every time I go through an airport I get stuck in the young dark male lineup, and then they rip all of my bags to shreds, interrogate me, and then tell you to pack up your stuff and get out of there. And it's like, you know what I mean? So how did that, how did racism, a lot, like people who spoke up were murdered, and it caused enough, like, holy cow, we got to do this differently, like Martin Luther, and people who were clearly peaceful, gentle people who believed in a peaceful resolution, and that there is another way, and it's not about segregation, and it's not about condemnation. It's about forgiveness and understanding, and like, yeah, it's tough, you gotta, and it's and so like, that's when it applies to climate change. Everybody knows it's an issue. It's clearly an issue, but it's like, who's, it, yeah, who knows what to do about it? I work on building sites where there's just a gigantic bin that gets filled up repeatedly, and all of the garbage goes into them. It doesn't matter what it is. All of it, from cardboard to plastic to tiles to 2x4s to all the little boxes that everything comes in. I mean, it just all goes in the same place, and it's just an expense. It's part of doing business. And that's it's heartbreaking, because I think what it would actually take to recycle wouldn't be that much. Yeah, you would have to implement a system, and then you could continue doing it. I mean, it just, yeah, it takes effort. But yeah, that's the thing. I don't know. It is a sad state of affairs when people got to do things like that. And I'm not saying that they do, but just that they are. that they are doing that, that they feel so out of options that they're going to glue themselves to things just to do something rather than nothing. Yeah, so that is my first one. I'm going to try to do 30 days of vlogging and see how it goes. So this is day one.